Hello and welcome back to the English Learning Podcast. I'm Jason, your host, and joining me today is my co-host, Julia. Hey, Julia.
Hey, Jason. Hello, everyone. I'm so excited about today's episode because we're going to talk about something really important: how to stop sounding like a beginner when speaking English.
Yes, a lot of English learners struggle with this. They know the words, they understand the grammar, but when they speak, they still sound like beginners. Why is that?
Well, there are a few reasons. Things like flat intonation, hesitation, simple vocabulary, and even a lack of confidence. The good news is, you can fix all of these with the right techniques.
Absolutely. And today, we're going to break it all down step by step. We'll talk about pronunciation, vocabulary, confidence, and how to sound more natural when speaking English.
So, if you've ever felt like your English sounds too robotic or too basic, don't worry. By the end of this episode, you'll have practical tips that you can start using immediately to sound more like a fluent speaker.
That's right. So, grab a notebook, get comfortable, and let's dive into it. All right, Julia, let's start with the big question. Why do some English learners still sound like beginners, even when they know a lot of words and grammar?
That's a great question. I think the main reason is that many learners focus too much on correctness and not enough on natural speech patterns. They try to translate from their native language, which makes their English sound unnatural.
Yes, exactly. And another big reason is robotic speech. Some learners speak in a very flat, monotone way because they're afraid of making mistakes. But natural English has rhythm, stress, and intonation.
Right. Also, many learners hesitate a lot when they speak. They pause too much because they're thinking about grammar rules in their head. This makes their speech sound unnatural and slow.
That's a great point. And let's not forget about vocabulary. Many beginners repeat the same basic words like good, bad, happy, sad, instead of using richer, more natural alternatives.
Exactly. And one more thing, many learners don't use linking words or contractions, so their speech sounds too stiff. For example, instead of saying I am going to, a native speaker would say I'm gonna.
Good example. Let's do a quick demonstration. I'll say a sentence in a beginner way, and you can say it in a natural way. Hello, how are you? I am very happy today.
Hey, how's it going? I'm really happy today.
See the difference? The second one sounds way more natural.
Yes, and that's exactly what we're going to teach you today. We'll help you fix pronunciation, vocabulary, and confidence so you can stop sounding like a beginner and start sounding like a fluent speaker.
Let's start with pronunciation and intonation. This is one of the biggest things that can make or break how natural your English sounds. Ready, Julia?
Let's do it, Jason!
Now, let's talk about one of the biggest reasons English learners sound like beginners: pronunciation and intonation.
Yes, pronunciation isn't just about saying words correctly. It's about making your speech sound smooth and natural. Many learners speak in a flat, robotic way, which makes them sound unnatural.
Exactly. In English, we have something called intonation, which is the rise and fall of our voice when we speak. It helps to express emotions and make speech more engaging.
Let's give an example. I'll say a sentence with flat intonation, and you say it in a natural way. Ready?
Sounds good. Go ahead.
I don't know where my phone is.
I don't know where my phone is.
See the difference? The second one sounds more natural, relaxed, and emotional. That's how native speakers talk.
That's right. And another thing that makes a huge difference is word stress. In English, some words are stressed more than others, and this gives rhythm to our sentences.
Let's do another example. I'll say a sentence without stress, and you say it with natural stress.
I didn't say she stole my money.
I didn't say she stole my money.
That's much better. By stressing different words, you can even change the meaning of a sentence.
Exactly. And another trick is linking words. Native speakers don't say each word separately, they connect them. For example, instead of saying, "What do you want?" a native speaker would say, "What do you want?"
Yes, and instead of going to, we say gonna. Instead of want to, we say wanna. These small changes make your English sound more natural and fluent.
So here's a quick exercise for our listeners. Try repeating after us. Jason, say the beginner version, and I'll say the natural version.
What do you want to do?
What do you want to do?
Great. Now let's try another one. I am going to call you later.
I'm gonna call you later.
See how much smoother and more natural that sounds?
Yes. So, if you want to sound fluent, start practicing these pronunciation tricks: intonation, word stress, and linking words.
And one of the best ways to improve pronunciation is shadowing. This means listening to a native speaker and repeating what they say exactly as they say it.
Yes, try shadowing podcasts, movies, or YouTube videos. Just copy the way native speakers talk.
All right. Now that we've covered pronunciation, let's talk about expanding vocabulary. Because using better words is another way to stop sounding like a beginner.
Let's do it, Jason.
Now that we've covered pronunciation and intonation, let's move on to another important area: vocabulary. Julia, why do you think vocabulary plays such a big role in how fluent someone sounds?
Great question, Jason. One of the biggest signs of a beginner speaker is using the same basic words all the time. For example, many learners always say good or bad instead of using richer vocabulary.
Exactly! Imagine if you only said good for everything. That's good. This movie is good. I had a good day. It sounds basic and repetitive.
Yes, but native speakers use a variety of words to express the same idea. Instead of good, you can say amazing, fantastic, incredible, excellent, awesome.
Let's do a quick exercise. I'll say a basic word, and you replace it with a more natural alternative. This food is very good.
This food is delicious.
I am very tired.
I'm exhausted. He is thrilled.
Awesome! See how much richer and more expressive that sounds?
Yes. And another trick to sound more fluent is using phrasal verbs. Native speakers love using them. Instead of saying continue, we say keep going. Instead of cancel, we say call off.
Good point. Let's try another quick exercise for our listeners. I'll say a formal word, and you replace it with a natural phrase. I need to cancel the meeting.
I need to call off the meeting.
She will arrive at 5 p.m.
She will show up at 5 p.m.
He recovered from his cold.
He got over his cold.
Perfect. Using phrasal verbs like this will make your English sound more natural and less robotic.
Yes. And finally, one more tip: use idioms and expressions. Instead of saying, "I am very busy," a native speaker might say, "I have a lot on my plate."
I love that. Or instead of saying, "It's very easy," we say, "It's a piece of cake."
Exactly. Learning idioms, phrasal verbs, and stronger vocabulary will instantly help you sound more fluent and less like a beginner.
So, to recap, stop repeating basic words, start using richer vocabulary, phrasal verbs, and idioms, and you'll sound much more fluent.
Now, let's talk about another key to fluency: building confidence in speaking.
All right, now let's talk about something that holds many English learners back: confidence. Many people know a lot of vocabulary and grammar, but when it's time to speak, they hesitate or freeze.
That's so true, and hesitation makes you sound like a beginner. If you always say, I think maybe I don't know, before speaking, it makes your English sound weak.
Exactly. So, how can learners speak more confidently?
First, Stop worrying about mistakes. A lot of learners hesitate because they're afraid of saying something wrong. But guess what? Even native speakers make mistakes.
That's right. If you focus too much on being perfect, you will always hesitate. Instead, focus on speaking naturally and keeping the conversation flowing.
Another tip is thinking in English. Many learners translate from their native language, which slows them down. But if you train yourself to think in English, you'll speak faster and with more confidence.
I love that. And one simple trick to stop hesitation is learning sentence starters. Instead of saying, try using natural phrases like, "That's a great question." "Well, I think," to be honest. "In my opinion."
That's such a good tip. These phrases buy you time to think while keeping the conversation smooth.
Exactly. And another thing, practice speaking out loud every day. The more you speak, the more confident you'll feel.
Yes, even if you don't have a speaking partner, you can practice by talking to yourself, recording your voice, or shadowing native speakers.
So, to sum up, stop worrying about mistakes. Think in English, use sentence starters, and practice speaking daily.
Now that we've covered confidence, let's move on to practicing English in real-life situations.
Now that we've talked about confidence, let's move on to something super important. Practicing real-life conversations. Julia, a lot of English learners study grammar and vocabulary, but when it comes to speaking in a real situation, they struggle. Why do you think that happens?
That's because learning English and using English are two different things. Many learners focus too much on textbooks and exercises, but they don't actually practice speaking in real situations.
Exactly. And the best way to stop sounding like a beginner is to practice English in real conversations. But what if someone doesn't have a speaking partner?
Great question. You can still practice. Here are a few ways. 1. Talk to yourself. Describe what you're doing or talk about your day. 2. Use shadowing. Listen to a native speaker and repeat exactly what they say. 3. Join online language communities. There are apps and websites where you can chat with English speakers.
I love those ideas. And another great way is to simulate real-life situations.
Oh, that's a good one. Can you give an example?
Sure. Let's say you want to get better at ordering food in English. You can pretend you're at a restaurant and practice ordering, "Hi, I'd like a cheeseburger with fries, please. Can I get a coffee with milk? How much is the total?"
That's a great exercise, and you can do this for any situation. Introducing yourself, asking for directions, making small talk.
Exactly. The key is to speak as much as possible. The more you practice, the more natural your English will sound.
So, to sum up, stop just studying English and start using English in real-life situations. Even if you don't have a partner, you can still practice alone.
That's right. And now, let's move on to our final section. Final tips to sound more natural in English. All right, we're almost at the end of today's podcast. We've covered so many great tips to stop sounding like a beginner. But before we go, let's share some final tips and encouragement for our listeners.
Yes. First, remember that fluency is a journey, not a destination. You won't sound like a native speaker overnight, but every small step counts.
That's such an important reminder. And here's another tip. Listen and imitate. Find a native speaker you like, whether it's from a podcast, a YouTube video, or a movie, and copy how they speak.
Yes, that's called shadowing, and it really helps improve your pronunciation, rhythm, and confidence.
Another key tip. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. Many learners wait until they feel ready to speak. But the truth is, the only way to improve is to speak as much as possible.
Absolutely. And don't compare yourself to others. Focus on your own progress. If you're speaking more today than you did last month, you're improving.
That's right. So, to all our listeners, keep practicing, stay confident, and enjoy the journey of learning English. You've got this.
Yes, and if you found this podcast helpful, make sure to keep practicing with our other episodes.
We'll see you next time. Until then, keep learning and keep speaking.